The bugs in the soil change. And the bugs in the spring are attracted to certain roots. And the microbes that are attracted to the roots of your dandelion or whatever. So when you eat the plant with all its natural microbes on it, you're getting the intelligence of the plant, the bugs, and the biochemistry of the plant.
We're not easy creatures to change. We generally, for most of the population, get set in our ways, and that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's not true, by the way. I mean, you certainly can, and people can change.
My belief, again, is that you don't have to be a physical therapist to understand your body. It's your home. We want to understand our home. We want to keep our home organized and clean. We want to, keep the maintenance up. We don't want to wait to be a hole in the roof and then all of a sudden be like, oh no.
This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here's your host, Ryan Alford.
I mean, I'm a lifelong marketing guy and believe in capitalism like anyone else, but it's almost like our own consumerism has created, this cycle of doing these things because everybody's selling something, right? And so you're selling this diet. You need to buy more of this and do all of this. And it's just not ever an all or nothing proposition. It goes, like you said, in cycles. It's makes you kind of think heavier about all that goes around us, doesn't it?
Well, you can still be very capitalistic. You can just buy, be more carnivore-esque in those winter months and be more, vegetarian, in the summer when the food's coming out of your garden faster than you can eat it. And you can calorie restrict in the spring, which was the plan. That's why every culture has religions that fasted at that time of the year.
Yeah, I guess. I think it's but most of them don't use the balance and wisdom you just applied, doctor. It's kind of, thrown in your face as the all the time plan, like you said, like, oh, let's be carnivore. You got to live that way all the time and stick with only this and buy only this. I think as I have learned to know that Abe Lincoln didn't say this, but he used to be said to have said it. Everything in moderation, including moderation.
And also the thing is, when you go on these extreme diets, there's that Stanford study I mentioned. They also found that the bugs, not only in the gut of the hunter-gatherers change from season to season, the bugs in the soil change. And the bugs in the spring are attracted to certain roots in the spring. And they're what are called bacterial endophytes. And the microbes that are attracted to the roots of your dandelion or whatever are going to have specific benefits for that dandelion plant to boost immunity, strength, and the benefits of that plant. So when you eat the plant with all its natural microbes on it, you're getting the intelligence of the plant, the bugs, and the biochemistry of the plant. But what we've done is even our organic food, comes on a plastic container. You rip off the plastic container. It's delivered on a conveyor belt, grown in the same soil again and again. How diverse is the soil? Are you getting the right bugs for the right season in your gut to sort of help the body dissipate heat in the summer, to boost immunity in the winter, which we desperately need, and to decongest you in the springtime when it's allergy season? That's what the bugs in the soil do for the food, and they do it for us. It's called xenobiotics, where when we eat those foods with those bugs, we're getting inoculated and getting a lot of immunity boosting and longevity boosting just from following that. But we, spray insecticides and pesticides on those foods. So there's a problem there, but that's not, impossible to get around.
What keeps popping in my mind is, for some reason, emotion and energy in motion.
Yeah.
And I always relate it to sports, especially with you, Ryan, because you're a sports guy. Like, we've seen miracles happen in sports games, right? Like, there's a power, and you get a group of guys all in visualizing the same thing, whether it's a win or a big play, where we've seen, like, how the hell did they just pull that off, right?
Yeah.
Where that, to me, is like that positive group visualization, group think, same as negative, right? And I kind of had a conversation with a buddy of mine yesterday, kind of similar to this, where like it's you versus you and your thoughts. And he kind of corrected me, like, we're one thing and our thoughts are a different thing. Like, we don't have to accept every thought. And unfortunately, a lot of us think negative. Our default is negative. And I think some of that is biological to avoid risk and preserve life, right? Especially when it comes to business, right? We're always it's easy to get on defense a lot of the time. But having to really flip into that positive mindset, best case scenario, and naturally, evolutionarily wise, I think we think worst case scenario, right? Because we want to avoid bad things happening. But really, it's a gift to really pivot into the positive thinking. And because I think it domino effects, and we can see it. I can see it in my daily life. If I literally smile at a stranger and say hello first thing in the morning, my day goes better. And it's almost like pretty quickly, it's like a boomerang reaction where like, and I walk by someone else and they smile at me and say something nice, where it's like, it just takes a little bit of consciousness and effort. And that's where I've seen like energy and motion, right? Is you put in a little effort and maybe go against my natural tendency, which is to be more like withdrawn and quiet. I'm just going to walk my dog. I haven't had my coffee yet. And I'm just using this example in the morning. But there really is power when you put yourself out there and put positive out, right? Like it truly does manifest. And I know when it comes to energy, I mean, like the simplest way is you are who you surround yourself with, right? You hang out with a group of 4 other positive, happy people, even if you're in a bad mood, you're probably going to leave in a better mood than you came with. And same as in the negative, right? I mean, I think it's not that hard of a concept if you truly consciously think about it. And like you just said, Ryan, we've seen it all happen. And I mean, I know I've used the example with you about Wi-Fi, right? We can't see it, we can't touch it, we can't taste it, but we know that we open our phone and we want to go on YouTube, it works. And not once have we questioned it since it launched, right? It just, oh, cool, we went wireless, this works. And that's where I think is so, like your example, Megan, of just these people that are like, I don't believe in that. It's like, well, you believe in electricity, don't you, bro? When you flip the light, your lights turn on. How many times you even question that? 0. So,
I'd almost say that's their own defense mechanism, because it is a negative vibration in a way, because it's the defense mechanism. Well, I don't have to believe that, like, so I can stay in the place that I'm at, because, like you can get into reverse psychology of what that actually means. Right. Yeah. What do you think about that, Megan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, everything that both of you are saying, there's so many points that are coming to me to talk about. I love the energy in motion, that energy and emotion is basically energy in motion. So emotions are energy moving through our body. It's a perfect description of it. Absolutely a perfect description of it. The ways in which we keep ourselves safe, we learn them at very, very early ages. Most often even before we're born, we're already learning from our environment and from the people in our environment. And we're not easy creatures to change. We generally, for most of the population, get set in our ways. And that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's not true, by the way. I mean, you certainly can, and people can change, but they have to want to change. And when you were talking about the voodoo and all of that, there was something came up in my mind. I had a client years and years ago phone me up and ask if I could remove a curse. She said, do you do curses? It's like, no, I don't do curses. I said, I don't believe in curses. And that really put her in a tailspin. What do you mean you don't believe in curses? I said, look, someone can say something negative about you. They can even wish negative and harmful things to you. The only way it's going to be effective is if there's somewhere in your being that allows it to happen. And I know this is a bit of a controversial viewpoint on curses for those who really do believe in it and who believe they have the power to send a curse, never mind, receiving it and having the effect of it. But it really does come down to the power of our belief. If I believe you've cursed me, and there's a part of me that accepts that, and then something negative happens, like I get into a fender bender, well, there's my evidence. It's like what we were talking about at the beginning. There's my evidence. But if what I've done is my own work, my own energy work, my own emotional work, and I'm not invested in what somebody else thinks of me, and I am not invested in the belief that they can somehow influence me negatively, then they can shoot all the negative barbs they want at me, but it's going to be water off a duck's back, right? I'm going to have my beautiful energy shield up, and anything that they're trying to send to me that isn't theirs to give me and isn't in my highest good, it gets reflected back to them so they can deal with it. Because the only reason anyone would send a curse is because they're lacking something in their life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's the psychology of it.
Yeah. It obviously is healthy for anyone, but when I hear the physical therapy part of it, I almost think people that might be coming back from injury or, healing the body in some way. Am I reading into that right? Or is that?
I think that is the most common thought of physical therapy, is that you go and what I want physical therapy to mean in this context is prehab. Doing this work is the work
prehab.
you do.
I love that name.
Yeah.
Did you make that up?
Well, I say it a lot. I don't know if I made it up, but I haven't heard it before. But I think other people. But
Have you heard that word?
No, prehabilitation. I like that.
Yeah,
like that.
it's like this is prehab. This is preventative care. This is all the things we're not doing enough of in this country. It's like to prevent. Like, I want people to not need me. I want people to become educated, and that if they can't get online with me or can't do this, they know what to do. That's the like, let's not gatekeep this information, but share it. And that's really what I'm doing is when you have enough knowledge, you can distill it to make it really palatable for people. And my belief, again, is that you don't have to be a physical therapist to understand your body. It's your home. And we want to understand our home. We want to keep our home organized and clean. We want to, keep the maintenance up. We don't want to wait for there to be a hole in the roof and then all of a sudden be like, oh no, it's like, and that's what prehab is doing. Is it's just, and in fact, it's priming your body for, I'm 55 and I move as well as I did when I was in my 20s, and I had the privilege of understanding this from a young age and a practice of it. So it's also to show that you can move well for many, many years. This whole idea of aging as this decrepit decline is another conditioning we've kind of absorbed, and doctors just reinforce that. Unfortunately, my dad was an orthopedic surgeon, bless him, but you go to a doctor and you're in your 40s and you're complaining about low back, and a lot of times they'll say, well, you are 45, as if that's the reason, right? And it's like, no, it's not. There's stress on the body. The body is responding with the only way it can is communicating through pain signals. It doesn't mean there's something wrong. It just means something needs to change. And what I'm trying to do is do the prehab work on the mat so that you don't, if you have those sensations, you don't freak out about it. You just realize, oh, you know what? I need to get back on the mat and rebalance my body.
Yeah. Our show's kind of prehab, it's what we're trying it to be. We're empowering people like with this knowledge so they avoid the pitfalls. And we're going to steal that one, Laura. I'll give you a footnote every time though.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think, more of this needs to be, more of this needs to be out in the world for sure. That, when we have more knowledge, we are empowered, and that empowerment makes us feel just more comfortable with stuff that happens in life, and just like you would change your diet if you needed to, when the physiology is telling you or the symptoms are telling you, you don't just always have to reach for the easy fix.
Yeah. Obviously, a lot of strength and power in what you've learned and what you put into the book, and sort of this alternative path that you probably ultimately now not only profess, but probably believe heavily in. But talk about what parts of writing the book and that story that would make sense, for our audience in kind of connecting those dots and ultimately, what your belief is and in these alternative channels.
Absolutely. Well, the underlying theme through the book, it's a love story. So for those that are out in the audience that like a good love story, it's a good one with a sad ending, of course. But in terms of some of the really good messages and other themes in the book, it's like when when you're faced with, well, okay, let me go back a little step. So first of all, there's prevention. So there's a lot of things that we can be doing just in our everyday life. Healthier cleaners in the house, healthier deodorant, healthy skincare and shampoo, and food that we eat, and exercise, and all these things are all preventative, right? And I know that you've had some really amazing people on your show talking about supplementation from the Life Extension crowd,
Yes.
for example. Amazing stuff. And I've been learning a lot when listening to those episodes.
Yeah.
So that's really
All
good
of us.
stuff. Yeah. Yes. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to prevent. But once you find yourself sitting in an office across from someone with an oncology badge, white coat, and they're like, well, we're really sorry to say, but, you've got stage 4 something cancer, or stage 3 or 2 or whatever. That's a big thing to hear. And immediately, cancer is a scary word. A lot of people just automatically go into fear, and they suddenly put themselves on a lower level, put the doctor team up on a pedestal, and they believe, and they put all their trust, they put their life in the hands of the doctors wearing the white coats. And the truth is, they're human. And even more so in this country, they really have their hands tied. They are allowed to talk to you about chemo, let's say cancer specifically, chemo, radiation, and surgery. Now, of course, immunotherapy too. And that's it. I begged and asked my husband's oncologist for really to explore other options, because he had a choice, whether to do, he could have gone 3 ways. He could have gone just the traditional chemo, radiation, surgery. He could have gone chemo, radiation, surgery, and some of the other stuff that I was exploring and we knew about already. Or he could have just gone alternative. Now, he was in pretty bad shape when he was diagnosed. So I think just given his situation, he ended up with a big surgery that took out part of his spine. There's a cancerous tumor in his spine. So it removed T8, replaced it with a titanium cage. And so that was a big thing to start with. And then he was, as I say, very, very bad shape. So I think looking back, I certainly would have still supported those first 3 months of chemo and radiation and so on. But at that point, could we have gone down to Mexico then? Could we have gone down at the 6-month point when the doctors were scratching their heads like, well, that didn't work. Okay, now we're going to try another chemo combination or cocktail. And so they tried another one. That didn't work. So, it's, and I was trying to give him, because I'm into, just sitting here beside me, this is what I'm into. This is celery juice, which I have almost every day, and this one here is grapefruit and orange and cucumber. So nice. Not necessarily the I'm pretty hardcore, so my combinations aren't necessarily ones that everybody would like. But
I need a juicer here. Like I'm
yes. Omega is the one to get, I feel, because it's called a masticator juicer rather than the centrifugal, which heats up the juice. This one just does a cold pressing the juice, which is much healthier.
The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe.